So, without revealing too many details, let's just say Justin always had the rhythm in his heart, and he never really had a chance to have a drum set or even thought about it really until. Um, but he always liked. I guess his dad liked playing the drums or had rhythm, and when he was a little kid, he always remembered his dad playing the drums on the steering wheel when they were in the car. And I guess one of the things that made me immediately select Justin as a top contender was that when he was 15, he was diagnosed with cancer, and he went through it for a couple of years, I guess, 2.5 years, and they he had a make a wish for his 18th birthday, and he was trying to think of what to wish for, what to get, and he came up with a drum set. Um, so he got a drum set for his 18th birthday, and he basically relies on the drums to keep himself going, and that really hit home with me because I had a very similar thing happen to me when I was 19 years old. Um, I didn't have cancer, but I did have another serious physical problem, which required heart surgery later. And during the time between I was 19 and 22, I was basically laid up. I still went to school, and but my life was kind of put on hold because I was sick and I was constantly going to doctors, and they didn't know what was wrong with me. And I went through a dozen doctors, and I kept telling them that something was wrong, and they said, no, you're fine, and all the tests were negative, and I finally was diagnosed with this ailment that required surgery. And between the 8 months when I was diagnosed and I actually had the surgery, I relied on the drums, which I just started playing. I was using rental sets, and I relied on them to, drumming is quite a physical instrument, and it sort of buoyed me to give me the confidence that I could still do things that required physical activity. So I didn't play a lot. I didn't play 6 hours a day or anything like that. Just like I didn't go running around the block all the time. But I played until it hurt, and then I stopped. But it was a great thing, and I knew that I got off on playing, and I had never played as a kid. I always wanted to play, but I never got the chance. And so just before I actually went into surgery, not just before, but a few months before, my father asked me, what would you really like? And I asked him for a drum set, basically. So just before my surgery, he bought me a drum set for Christmas. And I had my surgery on December 13th, just before Christmas. I got out of the hospital on the 24th, Christmas Eve, and I had these new drums that I couldn't play. And so, but 11 days after my surgery, I set them up. I purposely left them, piled in the corner because I didn't want to overdo it. But about 11 days after my surgery, I started feeling pretty good physically, and I still was very sore, and but they actually helped in my rehabilitation because I didn't have a frontal incision down the sternum. I had a thoracotomy, which is through the basically a couple of ribs over here. Quite an invasive procedure that they do, and my muscles were cut, and I still have nerve damage to this day, and I still have pain to this day. But playing the drums always makes the pain go away, and it also now I can play for 6 hours, and it does make me think, oh, I'm going to be okay, and, you know, I don't have this ailment anymore and things like that. So I'm sure that, you know, not to talk about myself so much, but it's a similar thing for other people who use the drums or any musical instrument or any hobby or avocation to as a way of distracting themselves at first and then immersing themselves to forget about or to cleanse their problems of the past. And in this case, it is such a physical instrument that if you do have an illness and you can get over it and get back to playing, it's quite gratifying to do that. So, to Justin, I'm glad you're here, you're healthy and playing, and you're really avid about it. And you'll have a new cymbal coming your way very quickly as soon as I can get the postage handling and all that sorted out. So, the second person who I chose a few weeks ago, and I was never going to even... I was going to mention people, the top 5 or so, but this week, since I couldn't get a hold of Justin, and it was getting longer and longer, and people were like, well, who won, and can't you announce it, and do a video, and so what I did was I took a preemptive action, and on Thursday, I contacted the second place person by email and said, you know, I don't want to get your hopes up, but if this other guy doesn't get back to me by Friday at midnight, then I'm going to give you the cymbal, and even if he does, I'll still give you something. So I committed myself to that, and I'm going to stay true to that. And I've had a conversation since then with him since I got a hold of Justin, and he said, you know, thanks for considering me. You don't even have to send me anything. I just like the fact that you offered me, but you know, and that shows me what kind of a great guy he is. That's Alex from Cape Breton, and so I'm going to send him something. I'm not sure what yet, but I will. And again, his story is another one of a very dedicated guy who has a hard life, who takes care of his mom who's sick and his dad. They live in the Maritimes where, you know, tough times sometimes because of the changing seasons and the lack of jobs available, and his dad's away a lot in the wintertime because he can't fish anymore and things like that. So he showed me he was a stand-up guy just by what he said in his first letter, and again, the drumming thing was there too, so he so that was why he was on my list. And then the third was a young fella named David Broadley from Scotland, who I've been talking to for a few years on YouTube, ever since he was just a little guy, literally. And he first showed me his, you know, Rush videos that he was proud of posting. And the reason I chose him is because I knew that he had made such great strides in the last 2 years in his drumming, and he literally grew into his instruments. He's got to be 6 inches taller now, and he's you know, becoming a lot more mature, both physically and mentally and emotionally, and he's just such a better drummer than when I first saw his videos back 1.5 years, 2 years ago or whatever.